live stream starts.
Welcome to Social Surge with Fly and Mo. Going live on the gram. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday.
Tuesday again.
The last dandelion. It's the last day of the month. Your Q4 that's what we should be talking about, is what you should be planning for Q4. But of course, no.
We can talk about it on Thursday.
We could, yeah. That's actually a good idea. Hey, look at us pre-planning and stuff. What? It's crazy. Welcome to Social Surge with Fly and Mo. I am Mo Regalado, and right over there is Miss Fly Jamerson. And today we're actually talking about going viral and why it's better to just consistently post versus trying to go big, right? So there's a couple reasons why I wanted to bring this up, and one of them being is that obviously we are in a very, very socially connected but emotionally inept world, right? I mean, I
was receiving that statement and processing the truth of it, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, no. And so I don't know what has happened. Maybe since COVID in the last 5 years, it just seems like it's so much worse, or maybe we're just consuming more content. But the lack of common sense with a lot of folks as they are recording viral moments, whether those viral moments are people getting caught on a kiss cam, or a guy stealing a kid's hat, or a woman stealing a baseball from a kid.
Yeah, and all those things happened in like right succession.
Right, exactly, right. So I guess one, you never know who's going to be recording you, but two, if you're the person that's there, some of the stuff like I live in Washington State. And this is way off topic, but not like we ever get off topic, right? There was a situation down in Pullman, which is, I think actually, is it Pullman in Washington or is it in Idaho? Anyway, there was a situation with one of the universities down there, and a kid was delivering food and got beat up. I don't know the situation about it. It happened at a frat house. And I'm pretty sure there was probably video somewhere floating around, because that's what kids do these days. Like, instead of, maybe stopping the fight. Well, the kid who got beat up, he's in the hospital in in a coma. Like, that's how bad it was. Now, what's interesting to me, and again, this coming from a PR perspective, is that initially the fraternity, came out and said something, and then the university came out and said something, and then like within probably 48 hours of this entire incident happening, the dad's post of the kid who got beat up, his post went viral in our community, right? It's like all over Facebook, it's all over the news talking about what was going on. The university comes out and says, oh, no, wait a minute, that's not what happened, and we have people investigating, blah, 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 blah. Initially, it came out that the kid was jumped, like he got and they specifically used the word curb stomped, that like that's how bad this kid got beaten. Then that gets retracted, and then the fraternity says stuff, and then I kid you not, within 48 hours, all of those kids that are part of that fraternity, all their social media profiles shut down.
Yeah,
like everything is like
scrubbed. That's what they call it, scrubbed.
Right. And so, of course, like if the optics are, if you don't have anything to hide.
This is why, okay, so this is a big thing for me, because I often will speak with people who are tentative about putting themselves out there on social media. The recent one that comes to mind is someone who just, you know what, I'm not going to go into details actually, because I don't want to out them, but just an all around good, wholesome person who contributes to their community, is good at their job, is interested in helping people and all this stuff. And so then when you see these crazy stories all over the internet, of exactly all the, all of the examples that you just mentioned, people get freaked out because they're like, I don't want to be vulnerable or like dragged. And I'm like, well, the thing is that you actually have nothing to worry about because, and that's not true, because in some ways, because like there is always, you and I were just talking about this yesterday about like people, when you start doing something good, people will come out of the weeds and they will try to drag you down. But it's so much of the kind of trolls and haters that we see in comments are comments and people who, it often reflects their own shortcomings, right? But for most people, there are very few pitfalls, because if you're a good person, there's what is somebody going to expose about you anyway?
Right. No, and that's exactly it. So it's when we have people come to us, when we have clients and prospects, and they still do say, I want to go viral. And I just look at them, I'm like, do you actually understand what that means? Right? Because going viral is not, it is not an indicator of success. And two, it can also bring in a lot, it can actually shed a light. So if you are a shisty person and end up going viral, whether it was for a good post or bad post or whatever, that is going to come to light. People will bring it up and they will talk about it. So let's look at what viral means. So viral is magnification, right? And it is not does not mean success, is what I should say. So viral magnifies things, but it does not equal success. So whatever flaws, whatever, miscalculations you have, or have done, that is going to get blown up, especially if people see that and they're like, oh, wait a minute, this person is, no, they're not that way. Like that's so always, there's always like two sides to the coin, right? So you want to make sure that when you are creating content, when you are being consistent, that you are creating content that addresses your audience, and you're not trying to chase a viral trend, because it can blow up. Your audience expectations are real.
I think that it's sort of the why of why people want to go viral is because they see it. That is often what people are exposed to. Chris Hatch. I love that.
So such a good message, this AM lady. Shed the negative energy like water off a duck's back. Keep pushing good content out. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, speaking of, thank you so much, Chris, for your kind of like breakdown of what was happening about Starbucks.
Oh man.
Because it was a great breakdown. And when you mentioned that it was like a 2.7% of, or 2.6% of the like entire inventory, I guess, of Starbucks stores, I was like,
yeah,
that's like, the number seems so big when you see it in the news, like 900 and some odd stores, right? But then you look at the actual percentage and you're like, wow, that is minuscule compared to like the numbers that we're seeing now. Not to minimize anybody who's lost a job or any of that stuff. It's just, what is it? It's called cutting the chaff, right? Like you're getting rid of what doesn't need to be there. Anyway, Go ahead. Sorry, apologies.
No, well, this is an interesting thing to have been dropped into this conversation, because that topic in the last couple of days, that's like a viral topic. Everyone was talking about it in like our specific industry, right? And I actually didn't see a ton on LinkedIn about it, but on X, right? And of course X is a place where things that are happening right now
in real time,
like, and it's, even though the feed has changed a little bit, it's still that way. But the idea of virality, I feel like people they jump to that because it's like they want to be the topic of conversation. They want to be the center of attention. Like they want all of those things. But the point of speaking to a specific audience is and I think that's what we were trying to get to, is that if you get in front of the most people that you possibly can when you're going viral, you're looking at a much larger group of people who are not necessarily going to transact with you, right? And
Correct.
so when people are chasing virality and chasing trends and all these things, there are some things about what makes content viral that I think are good things to pursue, but trying to go big and wide for the sake of going big and wide to cast net on the most eyes because you want attention is not going to necessarily lead to the kinds of conversations and relationships that you're actually going to transact on.
Yeah, 100%. So I would rather have 50 people watching that are my ideal client than have 50,000 people who have no freaking clue what I do and are not actually interested in what I have to say. Right. So I would rather have that much smaller amount of people that are actively engaged with what I'm saying than have a wide audience of people who just happen to follow me because of some random thing that happened. And now every time they see my content, they just swipe, right? They scroll on by. They don't want to see what I have to say because they're not my ideal target. They're not my ideal prospect or client. They just happen to catch something. Maybe it was a funny video. Maybe it was something that brought in a bunch of attention, but they're not my ideal client. Oh, we got Jeff Ram. Starbucks is no longer a third place. They made their stores uncomfortable to work in. No outlets, uncomfortable seating, little food options. Yep. Competition is coming into that space. Absolutely. You think about Seven Brew, who is opening up all over the place. You think about Dutch Brothers. That's opening up all over the place, right? Who else is even Dunkin'? Dunkin' has exploded again, right? So there's a lot. So when you create situations like that, you're creating opportunity for other people to come in and go, we can fix this and we can make this better. And I think that's what we're seeing. Definitely. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the coffee wars. I know talking with Corey yesterday about, because we were talking about Starbucks yesterday on Cup of Joe with Corey and Mo. And was it yesterday? Yeah, it was. I think it was yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. Sorry.
This all went down like over the weekend. And then like everyone was watching college football and I was just like, oh my gosh, are Hatch and Don Tepman going to fight over
over all the Starbucks locations?
Yes. I was like, this is the real entertainment right here.
It's a smackdown. But the question that I posed to Corey about this whole Starbucks thing was like, who's going to take over, like particularly like in New York City, like who's going to take over those locations? And he's like, there's probably going to be 10 people lined up. It's going to be bagel shops. It's going to be, donut shops. It's going to be other coffee shops that want to come in and jump into those spaces. So like in spaces like New York City, like probably not a big issue to get those released and reimagined, whatever. But when you're talking about maybe tertiary markets, that might be a little bit harder, but honestly, probably not when you're looking at it from a development perspective, because there's already an established box that has a drive-through, right? And I'm getting into the weeds with some of this stuff, so I apologize because this has nothing to do with social, but it does have to do with the fact that when you have this information go out on social media, like I'm sure people like Chris, people like Don Tepman, if you don't know who that is, that strip mall guy, people who are in that industry were like, oh, hell yeah, let me see where these locations are. I saw it first. Bless you. I saw it first on, on X. You're like, damn it, Mo. Now I can't sneeze. It's gone.
Well, it's
fine. but X is a place where breaking news is. So if we're talking about virality and we're talking about those things, that stuff gets broken generally on X first. You'll hear it a little bit of a rumble, and then all of a sudden major news outlets pick it up. But what is good about having these conversations and talking about these things on platforms? Oh my gosh.
That's bonkers.
That's crazy.
That's bonkers. I heard some locations had 5 LOIs by 10 a.m. Well, look, okay. And then, but again, on the topic of virality and what virality really could mean could be useful in this business, right? And I'm not talking about trying to go out and get attention, which again, I do want to highlight there are some things that I think are good about trying to pursue making the kind of content that can be engineered to go viral. But again, like somebody leaked the spreadsheet, right? Somebody leaked the Starbucks spreadsheet, and that
is this for real?
I mean, yeah, like there was a spreadsheet going around on X. I don't know. And honestly, I didn't look too far into it in terms of like, you know, like who actually made that and like where it actually came from. But there was a spreadsheet going around that people were passing around with each other on different posts on X. I don't know if it ever made it onto LinkedIn. Or really if, you know, what's been updated and that I'm hearing things about like people got emails about their store closing, but it's not true. And then the whole thing's just a mess. Right. But again, like if I worked for Starbucks, if I worked for Starbucks social media and it's, you know, that kind of thing, I would be like, oh no, that's like a viral thing that got away from us. Right. But I want to try to say trends and current topics are the things that you should be, if you are going to jump on trying to talk about something, you should look for those things that are highly relevant topics of interest in this specific community and not necessarily worry about what's going on in like the upper tier, right? Like, because being tapped in and pursuing something about something is, even if it was just 2.7% or whatever, but just like something is significant as what's going on, like that's actually going to lead to transactions. Yeah. That's actually going to lead to transactions.
Well, and what if you're the first, what if you're the first broker who happens to see that or happens to catch that or happens to, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what? And then you start doing your research and then you can contact your folks and be like, hey, we need to be aware of this. Right. So in those instances, virality can help.
I'm going to do a supercut of this show that's just us going virality. What is it? Where is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
How do we say it? So where those instances where that could obviously happen, it can really, really help your business. And so switching back to going back on topic to what we were saying about this, you don't need to go viral to win big on social media. How you win big is you show up consistently, you tell your story consistently, and you provide value always, right? I think it's something that Gary Vaynerchuk has talked about. And now I want to switch to CREI Summit because Aviva from Warehouse Hotline, and she's got tons of followers all across social platforms. She sat down with Gary Vaynerchuk. I've been a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk since forever. And I've talked about this before, that how I started implementing what he was saying on social to grow my brand for radio. It's how it took probably 2 years to start growing that brand on social, but I was very consistent. I had a podcast in like 2012, dude. Like
I was early.
Yeah, I was doing that kind of, well, I had all the recording stuff, right? Yeah. So I could do podcasts. I had my own website. Like there's a whole bunch of shit I used to do that, like, that's why I know how to do the stuff that I do. But
in 2012, I had a website like for my work and it was all sepia. It was all sepia tone because I was an artist. Oh my God. Like
I think I can't even remember what mine looked like. It was like oranges and reds. I think that's the color that we were going with. It's like oranges. Anyway, so yeah, yes, yeah, I know. Still the orange, but now we've got the teal. So
no, it's great. It's complimentary.
And we could actually get into color theory, but okay, let's stop. So following what Gary Vaynerchuk said, I built my brand for radio on social media. End up getting picked up to be assistant program director for another radio station in a town 120 some odd miles away because they had heard me. So I moved up to a bigger market. But it was because of my presence on social and what I was doing there that nobody else was doing that brought that attention, right? So I worked in country music. I had my own show. Like I did all of this stuff. And I consistently shared across my social platforms. At that time, it was Facebook and Instagram, talking, actually an X too, talking about like what was happening in country music, entertainment news. I also shared like state, local news because that's important. And when you're trying to build community, that's important. Now, the other thing that I want to say about building a brand is, again, listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. I started broadcasting on Meerkat and Periscope, which is how we can actually go live now on X, because X bought Periscope.
Right.
Meerkat went to the way of the dodo, but and I actually liked Meerkat better than Periscope, but I used to broadcast my Saturday morning show, which is all new country music, across the world. Like it was wild. I had people from Argentina. I had people from Japan. It was crazy. And they would listen online, but then they were watching me in the studio, which is kind of bizarre if you think about it. You know, you've got some random chick in Northwest Minnesota who's playing, you know, new country music and classic country music, and you're listening to her like talk to the computer. But I had people requesting songs like from across the world. I had people in Germany. But that's the connectivity, right? And that's creating community. None of this shit went viral for me, but I showed up consistently. I was constantly making, you know, content and sharing my niche, which was country music, sharing that across my my platforms, and that's how people got to know me. We've got Retail Girl LA, who's just joined us. Thank you. On the gram. Welcome to Social Surge with Flying Mo. But going back to Aviva and her not viral moment at all, but when she was talking to Gary Vaynerchuk about how do I build this in commercial real estate, and he was talking about getting a podcast and then doing the content waterfall that Fly and I talk about all the time. Why am I bringing this up when I'm talking about going viral? Because she's not going viral. She's consistently putting out content of value, right? That people want to watch, people want to see. Then she's taking it and breaking it down, creating blogs, I don't know. I think Aviva has a newsletter. Yeah, Aviva has a newsletter. So like she's got like all this stuff that she's doing, and she's following that program, which is the same program that I follow, the same program that I tell you guys about, that Fly tells you about. It's about showing up consistently. Do you think I want to be here at 6 o'clock in the morning? Actually, I do, because I love Fly and I love spending time with Fly. But that's the thing. Like, we know that if we create this one piece of content, this show that we're doing right now, we're going to have little pieces of, little value nuggets that we'll be able to take out of that. We're going to be able to create. We're going to be value nuggets. Oh my gosh, we could have a lot of fun with that, right?
The dollar menu.
Yeah, the dollar menu. That's a new series, the dollar menu
this
value.
This is not nuggets. The budget option. But no, okay. When people look at someone like Aviva or Zach Molzer is the one in most recent memory who has like hit the trajectory, right, of just like going off the charts, right? If you look at someone like Knackle, look at anybody in our little business who has had a viral moment or who has built an incredible following or is like consistently getting hitting on a lot of those vanity metrics that like people are like, I want it. Bros. CREI Summit, what Aviva said was how long that it took her to achieve what she has achieved was 3 to 4 years.
Yep.
Was 3 to 4 years. Zach and Annie have been posting every single day for a year. And in the beginning, it wasn't hitting. It wasn't necessarily hitting in the way. Actually, it was, but it wasn't like doing what it is now, because it takes time to build an audience. It takes time to dial things in. And one of the biggest things is that people want that consistency. in the sense of like it is something that they recognize. It becomes a shared language between the viewer and the person who's producing. And if you just see a random video, like most of the viral things that you see that come into your feed just are come in there kind of randomly, right? You're not necessarily going to follow, let's just use the example that I saw last night. A woman who explains about the different like styles of like punctuation and grammar and like all this stuff, and she like puts them on a brownie and then like has like a weird little speech about it and then like eats the brownie at the end. It's so strange, but like I watched it because it was about like different like also trying to explain to somebody a viral video is probably the stupidest thing you could do, and here I am trying to do it badly. The point being is that there was this incredibly really strange niche thing, one that didn't look like anything else that I had ever seen in my feed. So if you want to go viral, start doing things not the way that other people are doing them. That's the first thing that you can do to get attention. If you look and sound like everybody else, people are going to scroll by. However, so you have this incredibly strange niche thing that came up in my feed. Not necessarily the target audience for it, although in many ways I am. But when I opened up her profile to look at the other videos, every single one was exactly the same. In the sense of she found a repeatable format that people responded to and resonated with, and she kept doubling down on the same thing. And so when I see people putting a lot of energy and effort into like one single thing that they're trying to make like go viral, sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. But like, can you keep that up consistently? And are you going to be getting in front of the right kind of people?
Correct. Right. And so we just had Mulzer Development join us over on the Gram. Bam. Hello, Mulzer Development, whether that's Annie or that's Zach. Thanks for joining us. We just actually mentioned you. So again, are you getting in front of the right audience? And is that the audience that you want to be in front of? So when I look at Zach's content and I go through and I go through and I read the comments too, is this hitting the right people? And to me, in my eyes, it's hitting exactly the people that he wants to be in front of, right? And I sat in on their session at CREI Summit. And what I loved about it warmed the cockles of my heart because of the fact that they said for like 7 months, from like January, no, actually for 7 months until like May of last year, they didn't, or May of this year, they weren't really hitting any numbers that were it's Daddy Z.
It's Daddy Z.
That's exactly what he wrote. Good morning, Zach Attack. So they were talking about the fact, yes, right there, that they weren't seeing any really significant numbers until like May. And then it started just quadrupling, right? What were they doing? They weren't doing anything different from what they'd been doing 7 months before. It was probably more like, maybe a little bit more sophisticated, but they were consistently posting. And then if you look at Zach's videos, every single time he tells you, this is a 100-year-old building. It's in Kansas City. I'm doing the redevelopment on it, right?
Yeah.
Follow this progress of this building. That's what he's showing. Now, does he have personality? Fuck yeah. He's got personality for days, right? And that's why we want to pay attention. That's why we're looking at it. But if you're in this industry, you want to see what's happening in that building. You want to be now involved in part of the process. There was another building video I was watching where they have an alleyway and they're talking about the alleyway. Do I give two shits about the alleyway? No. But do I want to see what's going to happen there and what they're going to do with it? Hell yeah. I'm invested. And that's what we're trying to get across to you, is that your audience, your community that you're building wants to be invested in you, whether that's with dollars or attention, right? How can you create a community that is invested in what you are doing? That is the question you need to ask yourself, not how can I go viral? Okay.
I have no notes. That was good. Just end the show.
Let's just end the show. Okay. Actually on Thursday, what did we say we're going to be talking about? I already forgot it. I'll have to go back and listen. But the other thing, then one of the notes that I made that I would really love for us to get into is the psychology behind video and copywriting. Because we talked about this before. In fact, I would love to bring Annie on
That would be good.
And talk to her about the psychology of video, right? Wouldn't that be an amazing?
That would be really fun.
Because there is a, I wouldn't say necessarily that there's a formula, but there is a way to get attention.
Yep.
Again, showing up consistently. There's a way to get attention with video that could happen. And there's also a way that you need to write your copy so that you're not making people blank out. Yes, people still read copy. Okay. So those are some of the things that we're going to go over. Don't forget, we have the school group. It's right down below, Social Mastery VIP, where we talk about the whole marketing ecosystem. We'd absolutely love to have you with us. I have actually a couple videos, a couple training videos that I've got to upload. Not like I'm not doing enough already. Just saying. I got to get those uploaded. But we'd love to have you in our school group. It's a lot of fun. And we will see you on Thursday. Everybody have a great week.